Okay, let's start this session now. Hello guys, good afternoon and welcome you all in this Copilot session. Myself Archie this side and I'm your host for this session, guys. If you have any question and queries, please put question on chat box. We will try to help you out. Then moving ahead and talking about our event sponsor, that is Synergetics. So Synergetics is an India one of kind co-porting learning solution company. Now you will get a question like who we are and what we're doing. So answering your question, we boost our offering and also give comprehensive advisory service to client who wish to modernize their framework. We educate, advise, and implement and manage. Then the Synergetic solution offering, that is persona-based onboarding solution, onboarding add-on, certification add-on, reskilling solution, emerging technology training solution, certification hackathon, cloud adoption, latest technology training solution, sales and pre-sales training, practice playbook, and architecting. Then what this Microsoft certification training does, it will give you complete learning experience. You will get trained, build confidence to appear for the exam and get certified. This is skilling journey. Here you can advance yourself. First you have to complete fundamental certification. Then you can go with the advanced role-based certification and expert level certification. In fundamental level certification, we have Azure Fundamental, Azure AI Fundamental, Azure Data Fundamental, Power Platform Fundamental, and Security Compliance and Identity Fundamentals. In associate level certification, we have many types of certification. Here you can see on my screen. Expert level certification, we have AZ 305, SC 100, PL 600, and AZ 400. Guys, also we have special certification, that is AZ 120, AZ 140, and AZ 220. If you want any certification, you can connect with us. I already shared contact details on chat box. Then certification offering. So certification will help you to increase your visibility, expand your knowledge and skills. We do provide certification add-on, onboarding add-on like short duration modules and more. Then moving ahead, today training is organized and handled by the ATC community. So our ATC community is open to all the people who are interested in our cloud technology and various emerging technology. Under ATC community, we have emerging technology community for all. Then Azure Tech community for Punekars. Emerging technology community for Surat. Azure Tech community for Nagpurkars. Guys, you just have to install the Meetup app and you can follow our communities there. Then you have to follow code of conduct, which will create a respectful environment for all the participants. Please note that participants are not allowed to take screenshot of the presentation and cannot do screen recording. We will try to upload this training on our official YouTube channel. Today's speaker for this training, Mr. Om Prakash Pandey. He is a Microsoft certified trainer and currently works with Synergetics as a AVP delivery. Agenda for this webinar, you will get to know more about the topic and benefit of it. Guys, in this session, we are providing you MS 4004 Learning Achievement Badge. You just have to follow the step and you will get the activated badge. Guys, don't forget to follow us on our LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube for our upcoming event updates. Thank you for my side. Now, I would like to hand over this mic our speaker. He will continue ahead.
Thanks a lot, Archie. Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining the session. I really respect your time, effort, and patience. I'm sure you'll have been through a strenuous task throughout the week, spending out time for learning advanced technologies and making sure you all are appearing in high numbers assures us that most of you all want to learn and upgrade yourself from technologies which are in the emerging areas. Like Archie mentioned, at Synergetics as an organization, we always keep promoting emerging technologies and want to make sure that the entire industry is aligned with these emerging technologies. We have been Microsoft partners for last 25 plus years and received number of accolades from them. The recent series of technology development at Microsoft side has been generative AI and especially working with respective areas in context of Copilot. There are multiple Copilot solutions that we have, which is ranging across multiple services within Microsoft 365 platform, Power Platform, security, and various other areas. Our current focus for this today's session is MS 4004, which is an applied skill. Archie already mentioned about the significance of certifications. She did mention about fundamental certification, associate level certification, and she also mentioned about advanced certifications or expert level certification. Applied skill is one of those members which is taking us deeper into specific sections, specific areas, and also ensures new resources that is being covered by Microsoft. In today's discussion, we'll go deeper into Microsoft 365 Copilot. As of now, there is no direct certification which is being backed. MS 102 would be Microsoft Administrator certification, and MS 900 would be Microsoft 365 Fundamentals, which are other mapping certifications that one can look at. Another question here could be, who am I and what provides me relevant credentials to deliver this session? Archie has given prior information regarding me. My name is Om Prakash Pandey. I'm a Microsoft certified trainer and I have been working with Synergetics for last 20 plus years. I have been delivering sessions on various technologies, which involves Power Platform, which involves Microsoft 365 administration, various other resources from perspective of .NET, Java, Python, data and AI solutions. I'm a practice head for infra and collaboration within Synergetics. I've been delivering a lot of sessions on Azure architecting and SharePoint architecting as well. Before we proceed ahead with today's session, can I see a quick raise of hands? People who have worked with Microsoft 365 solutions in past. Okay, so I can see Kuldeep's hand being raised. How about others? Microsoft 365 solutions. Can I see raise of hands? People who have already worked with it. Not a problem. Thanks, Kuldeep. Please put your hand down. It's great to know the quick background of you all. So guys, once it comes to Microsoft 365. This is a complete product stack that we have, and just make sure that people are aware about multiple aspects within the underlying platform. I'm just taking a quick detour to make sure everybody understands core perspective of what is this Microsoft apps all about. The core focus area once it comes to Microsoft 365 is to help improve productivity of people within the organization. And here we are talking about the complete bunch of tools and resources that Microsoft has, which helps us to engage employees, help them to work together from wherever they are, whichever device they are using. They should be able to collaborate and work together on various critical projects within an organization. If there are any doubts, queries, they should be able to communicate using the Teams channel, the chat based offerings. If chat based communication is not sufficient, they should be able to host online meetings, whether it is in person meetings, that would be more effective. But even if they are able to host online meetings, that should be helpful. It will help them to stay in touch, know about each other, know about each other's availability using the email and calendaring. They will be able to share and store files using OneDrive, and from an overall perspective, empower the complete team to stay together, work together towards the company core objectives and value systems. The core purpose over here is transforming the workplace collaboration and achieve its business imperative. If you look at 86% of leaders don't know the power of collaboration, and even if they know, they are not able to implement it successfully, which results into workplace failures. 65% of leaders agree that having in-person meetings may not always be feasible with people working on different operations, different aspects. And that's the reason why they are preparing their team members to make sure they understand the details of collaboration technologies and use it to its fullest extent. 45% of leaders are implementing these web-based collaboration solution, but at times whenever there are free tools being used, lot of employee information, company information is being captured, is being misused by marketing organizations, right? There are a lot of unwanted ads, unwanted information leakage, which happens from their organization to the outside vendors. So rather than using these free tools, rather than using these unpaid tools, it will always make sense to gather bunch of technologies to which will help them to work together, foster creativity, have faster connect, stronger engagement, but at the same time, all the information which is relevant to the organization remains part of the organization itself. Now, how these things would happen? The reason why I'm showing this periodic table is to understand how these free tools that we are using is also given to us by Microsoft. And if you look at the total cost of these free tools from data theft point of view, this is much, much cheaper. So mapping to Salesforce, within Microsoft, we have Dynamics 365. Mapping to your YouTube channels, here we have Stream, Microsoft Stream, which is a video portal. We have Visio Online, similar to your Lucid charts and the free tools that we are using for drawing. We also have Whiteboard over here. From perspective of knowing about individuals, we have Delph, My Analytics. We have OneNote, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Apart from this, from file storage and file collaboration perspective, we have SharePoint Online, OneDrive for Business, right? From Outlook perspective, we have email, calendar, people, tasks. Now, all these four members would be available within the same environment. That's why while we are using these other facilities, we may not see them as separate tools. From chat and conferencing, we have Skype for Business. I think this also is disabled now. Out of these four, all of them have got merged into Teams today, right? Which is a replacement for Slack. Again, an open source tool which is available. We have Yammer. There's less and less implementation of Yammer I'm seeing after the team has been used extensively. Apart from that, we have To Do, Planner, Project Online. Now, some of these tools will realize are paid tools. They are paid tools in sense there is a separate license for it, while there are other tools which are part of your Microsoft 365 platform. Replacement for SurveyMonkey, we have Microsoft Forms. In terms of chatbot solutions, we can go ahead with Microsoft Copilot. This is the older name for it. Our virtual agents. Replacement for IFTTT, we have Power Automate. Working with Tableau, Qlik Sense, Qlik View. Now we have Power BI. So out of this complete bunch of tools which are available, maximum cases people are using 4 to 5 tools for which we have desktop implementation. Majority of tools that we see over here may not have a desktop implementation. Majority of tools may not have desktop implementation, but these are browser-based services, browser-based implementation, which people may not have used earlier. Most of my batches earlier, most of the sessions which I have conducted in past, organization leaders have been asking me to connect to the team, help them to leverage and use these services, use the details that we have, and making sure people use maximum of these resources. And this is what is Microsoft 365. I don't want to go deeper into this because this session is not about Microsoft 365. This session is more about Copilot. But it is important that people have the needed background. That's why I went into Microsoft 365. Just 2 or 3 slides to make sure everybody has a thorough understanding, an overview of what it is. Into Copilot. If you look at the audience profile is people who already understand Microsoft 365. They would want to take it to the next level by using Microsoft 365 subscription. And if you look at the prerequisite, people should have prior knowledge on Microsoft 365 stack. They should have Copilot license. And using this Copilot license, they should be able to practice these assignments, practice the steps which is being mentioned over here. If you all don't have Copilot license right now, you all can try purchasing one as you go ahead. Microsoft has different options for purchasing these licenses. In our today's session, this is a 2 hour quick overview session where I'll help you to understand what this environment is all about, what the what are the resources which is being provided by Microsoft to help us from the Copilot point of view. If you look at the core agenda over here, the core agenda is understanding what is the Copilot all about, right? Explore the possibilities with Microsoft 365 Copilot and what are subsequent options over here which can help us to optimize and extend Microsoft 365 Copilot. There are two respective learning paths over here. That is learning path one, learning path two, right? So if you look at the learning path two, this is getting into specific use case implementations. This is getting into use case implementation from executives point of view, sales point of view, marketing, finance, right? So this session that we have, MS 4004, this is a 4 hour session. So 2 hours is for learning part one, or 1.5 hour maximum for learning part one, and the remaining is for learning part two. So in today's session, I'll complete learning part one, and you all can try out by using your own Copilot license from perspective of how one can go ahead and look at the next set of use case implementations. In terms of use cases, there are respective exercises that we have, which is mapped around fictitious organization. What would be the scenario? What is the problem or the challenge area which is there? And how do organizations solve these problems using Copilot for Microsoft 365? So once we have done with this, along with this current session that we are doing, we also have, along with this, we also have self-paced learning options available from Microsoft. So you all can take a look at that. Also, I'll share you respective links for the same, which will help you all to understand the core purpose of which will help us to understand the core purpose of Microsoft 365 Copilot. What are the options available here? Let me share this link on the chat. So everyone, my recommendation would be Kanishka has a very valid question. Will you use Visual Studio Copilot? No, Kanishka, this is not about Visual Studio Copilot. This is about Microsoft 365 Copilot. And this is primarily focusing on non-developer audience. The primary focus over here would be understanding what are the key benefits that one can understand and encash out of the Copilot license. Yes, Kanishka. So we have GitHub Copilot sessions being planned, and there we'll be focusing on Visual Studio Copilots. Actually, from Microsoft side, the name of that service or the name of that Copilot tool is GitHub Copilot. And it can be accessed or leveraged via Visual Studio as well. You can put it on the chat, Kanishka. RC would be the right person who can guide you in terms of when we'll be doing that session. And not just that, like she mentioned, there are a lot of other certification sessions that we also do. You all can drop in an email on the same. Archie had also shared her connect on the chat. Or you all can write to us by going to our website. Even that is fine. Let's proceed ahead. Let's start off with our first module. So once we look at the learning path 1, I've already shared the link on the chat regarding the current course. So you can go through it. You can see the respective learning paths over here. Now, before we get started, I need all of you all to redeem the badges. The badge link and the steps for it is being shared on the chat. Just click on that link and you should be able to redeem your badges. As far as these badges are concerned, these badges prove that you have already attended the session, right? And the core purpose why this is done is to make sure you all get started with Microsoft Learn. This is an exhaustive environment that we have where we have series of learning material, right? Mapped with relevant case studies. And many of these Learn Path resources also provides us with respective interactive guide where we can see these things in action. Along with this, you'll also find steps over here where you can get a sandbox kind of environment where we can try out some of these resources. Is it? You can try accessing the link. I have put in the chat. Along with this, I have also mentioned about the learning certification link, the learning path link. Now, each of these are respective learn modules, which helps you to understand the nuances of Copilot. It helps you understand the nuances of Copilot and how one can go ahead, start practicing these things. What are the pre-existing resources that we have? As I go ahead, I'll share some of the other links as well from where you can download respective materials. Let's get started with Module 1, Introduction to Microsoft 365 Copilot. So if you look at this Copilot environment, this is an AI-powered feature that integrates with large language models, also called as LLMs. Along with this, It interacts with Microsoft Graph, Microsoft 365 applications, the complete series of resources that I showed you all earlier. And this can help us in enhancing the productivity. Just give it a moment. Let's go through the sample video over here, which will help us understand the significance of Copilot. You must have seen this video. This looks more like magic, creating a lot of contents that we have, right? Or the content that we need based on the current information, based on the current details, right? But whatever you all saw right now, this is actually a fact, and this is how Copilot works. Let's understand what is the ecosystem over here. So if you look at this ecosystem, there is a new environment that we have, that is collaboration between the external resources, the generic resource that we have, and the specific resources within the organization. Now, these generic resources that we are talking about is your artificial intelligence and the large language models. These large language models is the online study which is being done by looking at browsers, by looking at various applications and resources, correct? Map towards specific industry segments, insurance, right? Or if you have banking and financial sector. So there are pre-existing large language models which are being mapped over here. Apart from this, once it comes to organizational data, the organizational data is accessible via Microsoft Graph, and the fusion over here is association of these industry specific large language models with organizational data. And when they combine together, that's what creates a magic. There are a lot of websites which are available. There are a lot of online material which is available. But since it is not connected to our organization, it does not make sense for us. Lot of workforce that we would have hired recently, what is the main job they are doing? The main job that people are doing is downloading that generic information, collecting it with organizational information, and having right set of information being generated. And the same thing is done through Copilot. So is it a person who has large processing power connecting to online information merging with organizational content? Absolutely yes. So Copilot, the another name here is assistance. So this guy is an assistant to us who can help us do our job faster. Now, one question that people might have in mind, Om Prakash, by using this chat GPT based interface or the graph API, what if my junior can get some information which is not assigned to him, or he or she may not have permissions to it? That's not possible because it is completely backed by the trusted data security that we have. So whatever information is available, this information will be associated with the RBAC, which is role-based access control. Wherever the individual does not have permission, the person will not be able to see that data. The person will not be able to fetch that information, or it will not appear in the results of the query which is being initiated. And that is a core purpose of Microsoft 365 Copilot. That is getting relevant information back to that person, plus having the large language models fetch the required details from online platform. Another aspect over here, or the third member over here, is you can train these. When you say AI, artificial intelligence, this has machine learning models in the backend. These machine learning models can be trained, can be coached, like how we coach a human being, right? When we get a new person in office, we introduce them to HR processes, right? Sales processes, marketing processes, delivery processes. Same way, here we can train this model. And when we are training this machine learning model, we can specify our basic questions and answers being asked, the Q&A documents. We can train it by PDFs, Word documents, Excel files. So whatever relevant material you have regarding that department, we can train this machine learning model. What is the time taken for an individual for learning? What would be the induction period for it? 1 month, 2 months, 5 months, depending upon the size of information, time taken. Here, it takes minutes to learn all those new things. And after an 5 to 10 minutes, it can add all that information which was being trained. It can start producing relevant results based on that. That is Microsoft 365 Copilot. Let's take a look at another important member over here through a video.
Microsoft 365 Copilot is powered by what we call the Copilot system, a sophisticated processing and orchestration engine. It harnesses the power of three foundational technologies: the Microsoft 365 apps, that's Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, and more. The Microsoft Graph, that's all your content and context, your emails, files, meetings, chats, and calendar. And a large language model, or LLM, a creative engine capable of parsing and producing human-readable text, all accessible through natural language. It starts with a prompt from you in an app.
Now, one more generic term used over here is NLP, natural language processing. So what is this NLP all about? So guys, today's generation has been uh, working with technology from very childhood days. And when I say today's generation, I mean I am from an older generation. We were more prone to type text, right? Search for specific search strings. Today's generation is more prone to speaking to a technology, right? They would want to talk to a technology, get responses from that. The accent being used all the time of kind of terms being used, right? Those things make a big difference over here. So you need something called as NLPs, natural language processing, to understand those accent, understand those syllables or terms being used, and then generate the output accordingly. That is another very, very important member from perspective of Microsoft 365 Copilot.
Copilot pre-processes the prompt through an approach called grounding. Put simply, grounding improves the quality of the prompt, so you get answers that are relevant and actionable. One of the most important parts of grounding is making a call to the Microsoft Graph to retrieve your business content and context. Copilot combines this user data from the graph with other inputs to improve the prompt. It then sends that modified prompt to the LLM. You may be familiar with what an LLM can do based on your experience with ChatGPT or Bing Chat. Copilot takes the response from the LLM and post-processes it. This post-processing includes additional grounding calls to the graph, responsible AI checks, security, compliance and privacy reviews, and command generation. Finally, Copilot sends a response to the user and commands back to the apps. Copilot iteratively processes and orchestrates these sophisticated services to produce a result that feels like magic.
There are large number of such videos that you all can go through from perspective of understanding what these resources are all about and what is the core purpose that it uses in the background. Now, once it comes to these components over here, especially in terms of Copilot, when it comes to the grounding aspect, this grounding primarily is many a times people may be verbose or saying too many things, which is not clearer to the underlying engine, right? So what it does is it will map it to the closest understandable resources, understanding options. And I'm not sure how many of you have seen the Three Idiots movie. There's one scene in that which says, "Bhai कहना क्या चाहते हो?" Right? So that's the core purpose of grounding, right? So grounding helps us to decipher the prompt and get the actual crux of what a user might want to say. And any of your AI responses, it very clearly says that I'm not sure if I have understood you correctly. Correct? So if you have anything else to say or anything to add to it, we can add additional information there. The most important part of these conversations is it remembers the previous context. As a human being, it will remember what was the prior context of the discussion. And as we keep adding more and more details, it will keep facilitating the new content or new information being generated. So if you look at this Copilot resource, so what it talks about is, it talks about working with the pre-existing data, the large language models, the NLP that we have, and generate required contents using generative AI. For all these things to work, what is also required is a license. So you need to have Microsoft 365 Copilot license. And based on this license, it will help you to generate the content which is relevant from your permissions perspective. So it does not happen that you go to an organization and if you have got a Copilot license, you type the command, it will give you unassigned or unauthorized information. That will not happen, right? So you cannot blame Copilot for that. So you have to talk to the administrators and ask them for permissions. And if you are a person who's training these models, you will need permissions at a higher level. Maybe that's a temporary change in terms of permissions, so that it can be you can be assigned permissions to access that information. But once that training is being done, you'll again will be a normal user. Correct? So all these kind of details work in the background from authorization perspective. So at no point in time we'll have data leaks within your environment. That's what I'm trying to enforce time and again. So security wise, everything is being taken care over here. So once it comes to licenses, let me see if I have a URL for license. So here it is. Let me share this link on the chat. So if you look at your Microsoft 365 Copilot, this is 2,495 per user per month, or 2,619.75 if paid monthly. For an annual commitment, from a personal point of view, it is 2,000 rupees per user per month. So you can use a Copilot Pro. This is the cost for the Copilot environment. But if you see the amount of tasks, amount of implementation it can help you achieve is much more. And believe me on this, and you'll see it for yourself as we go ahead. The amount of things it does is addition to multiple human beings who are doing it together. So apart from that, looking at data quality, looking at the amount of time taken, looking at the response speed that an individual or an organization can capture from here is immense. So if you look at your working of Copilot, so first thing that it does is it understands the context and the user requirements. And this is something which is very, very critical. Now, many a times the time taken for finding out any information from internet becomes difficult because you have blogs, you have websites, you have number of other company details or information shared by individual data providers, but all of them would have different context, different understanding that they are coming from. Nobody understands what is your context, what are you looking at, correct? So what we do is we waste a lot of time in looking at these websites, trying to figure out which one is relevant for me. Whereas once you look at this chat GPT, or once you look at the details over here, first you have to specify the context. Say, for example, I am a developer, or I am a data engineer, I am AVP delivery at a specific organization. So we will have to feed in all this information. We need to align these details over here before we start asking questions. That's what is the significance of context over here. If you look at the next member in terms of transforming how it works, like I mentioned earlier, this is entirely based on search-based algorithms. There are excellent amount of searching which is available, and within milliseconds, it can scan multiple PDF files, Word documents, or any other information which is being given. So there is already large amount of knowledge repository which is made available through these LLMs, correct? And it also clearly shows you, if people have been using ChatGPT, it clearly shows you which web references or which links have been used, right? It, apart from that, using a graph API, it also searches for all the information available within your organization. And you'll saw a diagram. So once you have that results extracted, it will associate with your existing on-premises information. My request to all of you all, don't expect magic from day one. We will have to train this model. Many times what people do is they start using ChatGPT, they start using Copilot, but it is not showing any information because we have not trained it for our organizational details. So whatever databases we have, whatever documents that we have, we'll have to train this model. Each user has to specify their context so that there are relevant results which are being produced. Second important member is natural phrasing, right? So what is the prompts that you are mentioning? You have to write those prompts correctly. Microsoft, what they have been doing is they have a separate module. So once we are done with this, I'll ask Archie to schedule another session where we can look at how to write an effective prompt. What should be the right way of creating the prompt or mentioning the prompts in such a way so that we are able to convey our message, convey our details much faster so that we get refined recommendations, appropriately mapped recommendations over here. Now, once we have done with this, specified the context, started mapping these prompts over here, then third step over here is the key capabilities in terms of streamlined communication, robust support for writing, presentations, data analysis, security and control. And this is by using Copilot within Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, and Outlook, right? So apart from a lot of other services that we mentioned about, there is a huge engagement that we will see as part of these five core products which we are talking about. So if you all remember the video that we have been through, it's the same process which was being explained. So whenever we receive any input from the user as a prompt, it goes through your Microsoft 365 Copilot. Based on the information being given, it will check for appropriate details or the data that you have in the backend from the grounding point of view, get the refined information, refined details, and then it will start verifying the large language models, right? So here you have your rasterized augmented information gathering. So it's does the required processing over here using RAG, does the required searching over here. In the backend, it is also using Azure OpenAI services to fetch this information, get these details. And once we have retrieved that information, this comes back to your enterprise environment where we have customer Microsoft 365 tenant, checks for all the uh, emails, files, meetings, chats, calendars, everything that you have used for training the model, right? So it fuses this LLM returned response plus Microsoft Graph together, right? Now, once that is being done, it will be verified through the platform where you are using it, whether it is Power Platform services, Dataverse, right? Whichever other environment that we have, and then finally generates a response to the end user, right? So this is the entire processes that we have, which happens in the background by using OpenAI services, pre-existing LLMs, and your on organization specific details. And once this is being done, we'll be able to see the resultant output of that. We'll be able to see the resultant output of that. And like I said, it will also check for compliance and the purview implementation over here from uh, what is authorized for that user, what is not authorized for that user, which information should be given, not given. Initially, it may happen that some content or some information may be outside the organization's context, right? So we'll have to train the model saying this is not relevant or what would be the right format, what is your day in, day out mechanism of sharing these details. So we can do that. If you look at the core components over here, if you look at the core components over here, so we have LLMs, large language models, right? So which are specialized in terms of understanding and generating human-like text. LLMs, like I said earlier, will be based on a lot of online information, lot of other details that we have, right? Which is gathered from web sources, blogs, and lot of other online content which is available. Now these LLMs, so now one would say, Om Prakash, I have worked with Azure OpenAI services earlier. There are so many information sources being mapped, correct? And you all would be right with that. So here in the background, it uses the latest available resources. It tries its best to map to the online entities, maps to the data sources which is relevant to your domain, depending upon how you have mentioned the context. Next thing, like I mentioned about, is NLP, natural language processing. So based on the text being mentioned, based on the information being mentioned, it will break it up into tokens. It will break it up into small tokens, and it does a semantic analysis. So what does the user wants to see? What does the user actually need? What is the prior information being given? It will start mapping to all those resources. So here to have semantic analysis, does the required language translation, and after doing this language translation, now it would have understood what you are looking for. So there's a LLM source, data source. This is the query that you have. And finally, your Microsoft 365 applications, where depending upon if you have Word documents or Excel files, PDF, depending upon what kind of actions or activities one would want to perform, or the kind of content we would want to generate. All this information is being available, organizational information is available within your Microsoft 365 apps. So these are three core components within our environment. Along with this, we have your Microsoft Graph, where we have organizational details, we have respective groups over here. So from an organization, from a user point of view, what is the organizational context, users information, device information, connecting to respective files, which is owned by that user, various meetings or groups that the user is part of, right? So all this association is being built by using Microsoft Graph. Now, LLMs, NLP, Microsoft 365 apps, Graph, but how do you initiate the conversation and how do we get the final result? So one option over here could be using Microsoft 365 apps. So within your Word environment, there you can add your request, or this is the content I want to generate, or it could be within Excel or within PowerPoint. That is one option. Or second would be through your business chat. Right. So this would be your business chat information. Say, for example, if I want to generate any kind of curriculum, generate any kind of information, generate curriculum for Microsoft 365 Copilot. So it says, and I have done this earlier, so it knows who's Om Prakash, what is the day in day out job of Om Prakash. So based on that, it is generating the required curriculum for me. What sources is being used? Can you see this? Synergetics standard Microsoft 365 Copilot. Synergetics Microsoft Copilot for 2 days. So it knows what I have done earlier, and it is using my basic curriculum or contents within my organization, right? overview, workshop information, what is the pre-read material. Now, the team which I'm doing this session for, they are looking for case studies and real world scenarios. Can you add that for me? So I can add one more module here. So now what it is doing, it's saying it is not available in the basic information, basic details. Now I'm fetching it from additional members. So what it is doing, it is checking with Manish Korea, chat information, Power Platform, Copilot PPTs created by Komal Sharma. Komal Sharma is somebody who reports into me, right? So I have access to that information. So using that details, looking at information available on internet, it is creating one more module over here, one more member. So there is a financial customer whom I'm working for. So they want uh, Copilot in Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Teams, and Outlook, but they want deep dive on Copilot for Excel. So can you help me generate respective curriculum based on that, where I can have more deep dive in terms of Excel scenarios? Can you see? So from Copilot for Excel perspective, right? So it is similar to talking to an individual, talking to a person. What do you want to do? What do you want to generate? What will be the information that you're looking for? And this is called as context-based chat. So it knows what was the prior curriculum. It knows what was the prior communication or details. Can you see this? Module number 10, deep dive, Copilot for Excel. Module number 9, real world case studies, real world scenarios. Now, this is just one context which I showed you. Now, just imagine Om Prakash Pandey as a person who's supposed to revert back to the customers at much more faster pace. If I do this research myself, go to 5, 6 sites, and then generate required contents, it will take good amount of time. And from a customer's perspective, they are very much keen on having faster responses. If I take too much time and don't revert back quickly, I will lose out on the customer. Correct? Now, what is your suggestion? Should I look at 2000 rupees per user per month? Or should I look at closing at least 20, 30 lakhs or at least a crore rupees of business every month? What should be my focus as AVP delivery? That's one aspect. Second aspect, which I can tell you from my experience, is when my fellow people are getting into the batch, they should have at least a first draft content. They sorry, they should have a first draft content. They should have basic information regarding Copilot, right? So how do I generate that information? How do I generate that core details for them? So I can use Copilot over here. Can you see this? Create a presentation about, create a presentation from file. So I can have both the options over here. Maybe that dialog box is getting lost. Just give me a moment. So actually gives a dialog box where I can specify which file I want, create a presentation, create a presentation about Copilot for Microsoft 365. So here what I'm doing is I'm adding additional information, adding additional contents over here. And what I'm trying to achieve is using a generative AI, I'm creating the content or adding information over here. And this can be done in Word, Excel, or Outlook within Teams environment. And like I mentioned, this session, the next half or the second aspect over here is based on number of case studies that you all can try out. I'll share that information as well as we proceed ahead. Just give it a moment. Let it generate the required contents. Give me a moment. Things in presentation mode, the mouse is creating a problem, right? So you'll see it has already created the content over here. What is Microsoft 365? It says if you have any other questions, add extra slides. Copilot for Excel. Remember, that was the context that we mentioned earlier. So depending upon what information, what details I would want for my team members, I'm I'm still not saying this will be exactly helping me to deliver my session effectively. But within how much? 5 minutes? Within 5 minutes, I have two types of content. One is the first draft curriculum, which my customer is looking for. I have sent it to generated it. I can format it in my own syntax format, give it to the customer so that I can close the business. That's one. Second person who's jittery about Oh Prakash, I have never delivered this session in past. Do you have some first draft material which I can refer to? I have also given him or her the first draft material for session delivery. Correct? Now, what that person has to do is study those respective documentation, study the websites, study Microsoft information, go to relevant customer case studies. Again, depending upon what is the industry segment, depending upon what is the customer's expectations. So that additional input, that additional hard work that is to be done by the human being. But the first step is already being done. Even from the curriculum point of view, right? I'm not saying it is the perfect one, but at least that gives a ballpark or a starting point to my team saying that okay, this is where we have to start with. Okay. So does it make sense to you all with a small business case how this is going to work or how this is going to help you all in your day in day out life? Okay. So let's take a quick break, 10 minutes, grab a cup of tea or coffee, and once we assemble back, we'll look at more details over here. We'll go into other contents, and I can show you some more examples for the same. So everyone, let's assemble back in 10 minutes. Meanwhile, people who have not redeemed their badges, please make sure you all redeem the badges. Welcome back, everyone. So before the break, we looked at some of the core information from perspective of Microsoft 365 Copilot. I had shared some of the critical resources. There are many more such resources to come along. So we understood the significance of the core components, that is LLMs, natural language processing, your Microsoft 365 apps, how they integrate. And I also showed you an example using the business chat implementation and its association within Power Platform. You all will realize that multiple times this has been spoken about from security point of view. Microsoft has a separate section over here, and they keep reiterating this point in every session or every uh, information that you'll see in context of Copilot, that is responsible AI. If somebody is harping around or laboring on that point, which obviously means that this has much higher significance, this has much higher relevance, and this could be one of the big question areas that people would have in mind. And, and it is very, very obvious because in today's world, the way how recommendation engines have been working, if you look at your YouTube, if you look at your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the moment you speak something, the moment you search a specific text, automatically the complete bunch of recommendations keeps appearing for you, keeps getting showcased to you. The entire playlist changes, entire information set changes for you. So, how is this happening? Somebody in the backend, certain applications in the backend, they are continuously watching you, continuously monitoring you, trying to push, trying to generate or sell you something which you may be looking at or something which is related to you, right? In such an era, this becomes a very, very big question. So when I'm, and earlier it was more in terms of uh, time pass, I would say, or just whiling away time, just scrolling through some of the reels, or we had some question in mind, we searched for it, right? It is a ignorable kind of thing. But if you look at organizational information, if you look at IP, intellectual property of an organization, which has been there from ages, are that is something which is giving us a competitive edge. Now, if that information is being leaked out, if that information is made available to masses, we may lose our credibility. Along with this, we are dealing with so many companies, so many uh, new joinee information, right, within the new organization. And if we by mistake happen to share that information or leak out that information to the external world, right, that's a big problem. So here, what is essential for us, essential for Microsoft, is to have a commitment to all the customers saying whatever is your information, it will be available only within your domain. The and if you see the diagram, apart from your prompt, nothing goes to the outside world. Nothing goes to the LLMs which were existing. Instead, it is the reverse way. So once that information is fetched from the LLM based on the prompt, then it goes to your Graph API. So by no chance, your organization information will be leaked outside. Correct? Along with this, I still want to warn you all, make sure we use the appropriate sensitivity labels, DLP properties, have our own compliance mechanisms being implemented, even though Microsoft is very, very clear in terms of responsible AI. What is this responsible AI all about? Let's go into more details of this. So Microsoft integrates this AI into its operations, whether it is security, your basic operating system implementation, whether it is your Office 365 platform, Power Platform, security, everywhere, right? So what is essential over here, apart from this integration, is focusing on ethics and responsibility. All this information which is being captured, which is being trained, which is being used for training the models, but this model is dedicated for your local environment. These are also called as SLMs, small language models. So these local language models or small language model is only from your organization point of view. And the prompts which I typed, any one of you all can go try going to outlook.com, try using the same prompts. You will not get the synergetics content over there, like how I was getting. You all will get a generic content. As far as the information is concerned, that would be different. That would be definitely different information as compared to what I showed you. Because Microsoft is very clear saying that we don't share any customer information outside. And this is not right now. This has been the earlier commitment as well from Microsoft in terms of their server solutions, in terms of their data management solution. Same thing continues in context of AI as well. You all must have seen so many movies, you all must have seen so many online or web content where AI has been misused. Here, this is the core purpose of AI within Microsoft. How do you train and create these resources? So the core principles that you'll see is safety and reliability, privacy and security, and having inclusiveness. Let's go to the next module and let's understand the possibilities of using Microsoft 365 Copilot. So now if you look at the options available, every environment, whether it is Copilot in Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, Excel, Teams, Business Chat. I showed you all some example through Business Chat and PowerPoint. We'll go into the remaining areas as well, remaining applications as well, which is more relevant from day in, day out perspective. So we will leverage on that. So once it comes to Microsoft 365 Copilot for Word, exactly same way how we have generated a content here, generated the information within business chat and the presentation. Same thing we can do within your Microsoft 365 environment, Microsoft 365 app, which is our Word application. So depending upon what is the letter that you want to draft, any kind of official communication that you want to create over here, any kind of idioms, right? All these aspects can be created by using your Copilot over here. Apart from the standard process, you have a lot of shortcuts as well. Editing a prompt, current draft, keep it, right? So we can use these options, or we can use our mouse keyboard to mouse over here to perform these actions. So once it comes to these chat-based resources, this is part of your ribbon. We can leverage it from there, or even before creating this document, the first step that you want to initiate with Copilot, we can do that as well. Just give me a moment. Let me go back to my okay. Let's take a blank document. So draft a white paper, create a proposal, write an article, or now these are set of pre-existing prompts that is showing that, oh Prakash, is this what you want to do? Or is this something which is not being mentioned over here. So these are set of pre-existing prompts that you have. Draft a white paper on the topic of responsible AI in Microsoft 365, sorry, in Copilot for Microsoft 365. Okay, so can you go ahead, generate some information for me? Now, if you already have some pre-existing document which is mapped to it, it can leverage on that, or whatever is the generic LLM information. Here you can see principles of responsible AI, the same diagram that you mentioned, implementation of responsible AI in Copilot, future direction, what could be the challenges over here, how Microsoft addresses it. Can you make it concise? Add details from BFSI segment over here, because banking and finance people, they are more concerned when it comes to data leakage, right? So in BFSI segment, addressing biasness from credit scoring, loan approvals, and other financial services is critical. Can you see this? So depending upon what kind of information we would want to generate, what kind of drafting we want to do, the first case drafting, those things can be managed over here. Now just imagine you are creating your resume, or you're creating your CV, you are going for a customer meeting, right? So one approach over here could be you have your general resume, general CV, you have a standard customer pitch, or you can create a pitch which is mapped to the customer's domain, right? And whenever you have any pitch which is mapping to a customer domain, the or your CV or your resume aligned to the customer's current business problem, the chances of your resume or chances of your pitch or your product or service getting selected is much higher, because customer understands that this guy has done some research, some kind of homework on our website, in what type of business we are, what do we do, what tasks and activities we perform on day in day out basis, what are our pain points. So this guy is not just looking for a job, he or she is not just looking for an opportunity to work with us, but also trying to solve the problems that we have at our end. See, our intent is right, but the problem is we don't have time. We need somebody to help us in doing this faster. And that's where comes Copilot. So it can help us create these kind of artifacts, create these kind of resources, which will do the background research and get that information. I'll warn you all once again, I'm not saying that this will be the best thing which is being done, but 60%, 70%, it brings you that. Still, go through those websites. As a human being, you may find something which is more pressing for a customer as compared to 10 other points being mentioned. Prioritization of those aspects, prioritization of those uh, challenges, right? That is something that we will have to do. Copilot will not be able to help you in that way. Correct? That will make it 100%. Let's proceed ahead. If you look at usage of Copilot. We can use it within Teams environment, which we can use it within Copilot for Outlook, right? So whenever we have a lot of mail trails happening, and see, we are human beings, being part of so many email threads, and somebody like me, who is an ABP delivery, I am part of so many customer communications, so many customer requirements. I have been part of so many meetings, correct? So there are Outlook emails which are sorry, there are emails which are flowing in from my sales operations team, sales team, delivery team, right? The external vendor whom I'm talking for the lab environment, correct? Looking at their quotations, suggesting or giving a customer response, what should be the final proposal for it. So I'm part of so many things which are happening. So keeping a track of all of them becomes difficult at times. And losing a particular opportunity doesn't require 20 mistakes. It requires just one mistake of a zero that will ensure that you lose the business. So we'll have to be very, very precise, effective, and to the point. So in those cases, we need somebody who can assist us in scanning the complete mail thread, checking for all the critical points which are being part of that, and then helping us take a right decision. We are also family people, right? So we may take a break, we may go on leave, and in that meantime, your supporting staff or other people, they may have done some customer conversation. How do you remember that? And if you try calling them up, sir, we are busy, we are working with another application right now. If I have my other fellow team members, they will be working on some other projects. So rather than waiting for them and delaying the response to the customer, I can go ahead and summarize these email draft. Any other coaching tips which I want to give to my people, saying that I don't think this is right, this is wrong, this is how it should have been done. So depending upon what they have done, my tone may be bad because I'm in a bad mood today. I had quarrel at my family. But before clicking on that send button, I can ask my assistant, I can ask Copilot, can you mellow down the uh, words and make sure the sentiment are being captured. So some of those feelings, some of those uh, emotional aspects also can make a big difference. And especially when you're dealing with external trainers, when you're dealing with senior folks within your organization, we'll have to be very, very careful, right? So in these kind of aspects, drafting and emails, coaching tips, this is where your Copilot can make sense for us. Just give me a moment. Let me show you an example here. So you can use your Outlook app or you can use your Outlook. Outlook app may not be the best one. Let's go to the Outlook because that's where you'll have an email thread. So you can look at some of the pre-existing drafts. It's not showing me the option over here. Okay. So draft with Copilot or coaching with Copilot. So there is some problem which I came across, right? And I want to write an apology email where the session delivery. Now there are so many people who are delivering. At times it may go well. Sometimes there are issues over here. I hope this message finds you well. I'm writing to sincerely apologize. Okay. So what additional do you want to add over here? Please be assured that we are taking immediate steps to rectify the solution. I want to add details on technology depth not being covered because everything else was fine. The customer's feedback was we were expecting more depth from Synergetics as an organization. See, so specifically, we have identified that there was a lack of coverage in the depth in our technology, which contributed to the issue. We are implementing more rigorous checks and balances in our production process so that all technology aspects are being covered. Now, at times, if there are more of such Copilot messages being generated, even customer comes to know that this is something that you are not writing. So you may want to remove certain sentences, or you may want to change certain context, add details regarding issue with lab environment. So whatever are the pain points or whatever the issues that you must have seen, all these details we can add over here. Correct. And at times when you are writing an apology email or when you are emotional at aspects, because Synergics as an organization would want to make sure each of our trainings goes best. Correct. If there are certain such issues, then how do we rectify that? Or how do we communicate to the client? So talking to the client will be one aspect. They will also expect an email from an authority within the organization so that they are able to take care of those things. They are able to, and it's not just a promise that we are making. We are also ensuring that in future we don't commit such kind of mistakes, or when we are committing, we need to have a background check whether we have the required resources, we are not making any mistakes there, right? So all these things have to be taken care. So this could be one example which I have showcased over here that you all can understand from perspective of how Microsoft 360, how Copilot can help you in drafting your emails within Outlook environment. I have already discussed about the PowerPoint, so I'm not going to that. We can do this similarly as part of our Excel environment, Excel resources. In terms of adding any kind of formulas, highlighting set of members, analyzing information, right? So we can leverage on this. Many times it also helps you with uh, correction tips, right? What is the correction tips that you'd want within the environment to be implemented? If you have missed out something, if there are a lot of duplicate values, it provides us with appropriate suggestions. In terms of the team's environment, so at times, I'm not saying everybody would want to do it on purpose, but at times what happens is because of the internet connectivity or people who are traveling and attending the meeting, some places you will have network, some places you will not have network. So what I would want to do is I would want to generate the transcript and I would want somebody to summarize that meeting for me. So what was the conversation? What did I miss out? Right. So if you look at the Copilot options over here, so I'm using a Copilot to help me generate the summary of so whatever has been discussed till now. What did Archie say? What are the badges or details that she has mentioned over here? Right now, we are not capturing a transcript for this. Otherwise, even that transcript information can be used from a summarization perspective over here. I already discussed about the business chat, right? So we can look at these members over here. So once it comes to your Copilot resources, there are a lot of transformative features that can help us in terms of day-to-day productivity tasks and its implementation within Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, Business Chat. These are some of the standard ways of communicating. These are some of the standard ways of leveraging on the Copilot resources. There are many more of them. There are more than 26 plus services which I showed you all. Each of them have a interface of Copilot. So we can leverage on each of those members over there. If you look at the third and very important member, which is extending the existing environment. From an extensibility point of view, here what we're talking about is whatever is being given by the LLMs and whatever it could do based on its common understanding of the documents at times may not be sufficient. You may want to add more members to it. You may want to augment it with some additional capabilities, additional resources. In these cases, you may have to go ahead with another extensibility options, which will help you to inculcate the new habits, the new resources that you would want within your existing environment. Right? So here what we can do is we can check for what is the standard content, how we can train the existing machine learning model, right? And if you look at one of the best practices over here, avoid over reliance. Don't use too much of Copilot. And that's why I said it. You may look at it only from 70% perspective. The remaining 30% work you still have to do. So please don't get into the batch. That's what I tell my team members. Don't just generate the uh, PPTs from the Copilot and get into the batch. Study those document links which is being shared. That could be documentation links, that could be product documentation links, standard blogs and other material, right? Go through those links, prepare yourself, do the examples yourself, implement the labs, because those things are not there in the Copilot environment. That is something that we will have to do and practice. Prioritize privacy and security. So whenever you see any information which is being leaked out or any details which you think are not correct, don't specify those things or uh, like how we said, add new member or add new details and go into more deep dive. You say remove these things. Don't use these kind of words because from the end customer's point of view, the customer will not say this is Copilot. He'll say this is Om Prakash, who has written this mail or who is sharing this conversation. Correct? So we'll have to be very, very careful in terms of what is the content being generated, what information is there, and what message is coming out. So if you look at the prompts that we were talking about, so we'll have to understand what we want to achieve through Copilot. That is something that you'll have to be clear about. Say, for example, I wanted to write an apology mail to my customer. So I have to be clear in terms of what goal I would want to achieve. What is the context, right? It was a batch being done on a specific technology. What were the problems? I need to know the context. Along with this, what is the expectations from the customer, what they are looking at, and what is my expectation that the entire messaging should come out? What should be the tonality of it, right? Should it be friendly? Should it be authoritative, right? So based on who you are, what is your context, you'll have to work on that. And finally, what is the source of information? So do you want Teams chat to be used? Do you want your existing presentations or Word documents or libraries being used? All this source of information has to be mapped over here. So in terms of the outcome being generated will depend upon what is your prompt being written. How did you provide that message? What was the details? So we cannot be ambiguous over here. We'll have to be very, very clear in terms of what we want to achieve. Do this or do that, right? So we cannot do that. We have to be very, very clear and focused on what is the implementation that we want to do over here. We need to be creative in terms of tone, language, styles being used. One guidance which I would want to provide from my side, don't try to be too jazzy. Many a time, and I'm just saying from the presentation point of view, most of the PPTs which I have seen, they are too jazzy, adding every page has an image. It's not necessary. Or even that images, if you see, they may not be correlating to the context. So in that cases, you can remove those images or add some of the technical aspects, technical diagrams there, which will make more sense and will help you to understand the architecture or explain the details. So from synergetics point of view, what we prefer doing in our batches is we prefer using concept visuals, and using these concept visuals, it becomes easier for us to explain what is the context of the technology, what is the architecture, what is the purpose of it. And this holds true for every topic that we do, from databases perspective, from our implementation point, AI perspective, right? So whenever we are doing sessions for Synapse implementation or Apache Spark cluster, right? So we prefer using our own custom diagrams, which will help individuals to understand these members. So we'll stop with this. I hope everybody has got a gist of what these resources are all about, what are the members over here. One more link which I want to share with you all is the GitHub link, which has all the required resources that can help you all to understand and implement. You're right, Kuldeep. Prompt must not have sensitive data. So thank you very much, everyone, for your time. And I hope everybody has got a overview of what is this Copilot all about and how it works based on the prompts or information being given. My request to all of you all would be to provide your valuable feedback. Thanks, Archie. Thank you very much, everyone. So Kuldeep, there is nothing called as Azure Copilot. This is called as Azure OpenAI. Copilot is primarily is part of every tool that you have. It's a productivity resource. In Azure, you have